Hi class, welcome to week 6. We are zooming through this quarter. It's insane how fast things go by. I am up to date on your papers and I graded week 4's discussions, which were great. Um, I thought that everybody came up with some interesting ideas for initiatives in their organization, and I have made comments. That's why it takes me typically a longer time to do week 3's papers because there's so many comments, just to make sure that people are on the right path towards the assignment that is actually due this week, your strategic plan. But first, I want to talk a little bit about this week. We're looking at priorities, and we're looking at creating some type of prioritization system. Oh, my words are not getting it today. Some system for prioritizing your life and your ideas. There's this great video on YouTube where you can look at how to create a bullet journal, and bullet journaling is one way to create priorities in your life and to figure out what needs to be done first, what needs to be done second. All of this is part of creating a plan for your personal life. And when you're creating a strategic plan for an organization, it's going to be the same thing. You have to think about priorities. And when you're prioritizing, you want to have a good system for it so that you can see what has to come first, what has to come second, so and so and so. Your paper is going to be due Sunday. Make sure that you have headings. I think most of you have conquered the heading bug. You all know that's my big pet peeve. And you've done a good job with that. I always bold the words that I think you should use as your headings. You don't have to use them exactly, but having them there helps me to know what you're talking about and where you're talking about it. A good example for this week, you're going to have a summary of the initiative. Now, you've already talked about the initiative in your week 3 paper and you've developed it. Look at my notes, and then I want a really clear summary of what the initiative is. What is it that you're going to do? And remember, an initiative needs to be something that is going to take some time to complete. It's not something that you can go in and do tomorrow. So you can't just pop into your organization and say, oh, we're going to create a new system for logging. Here's the log. Here's how to do it. Go for it. You know, that's not an initiative. That's just an intervention. That's just a thing. But if you were going to create a new system for logging, the part of what would make it an initiative is that you were going to have to basically get buy-in from people. You're going to have to create a log that is work, create a rationale for it, create the log itself, train people on how to use it, then verify that they are using it, and then do some kind of evaluation to see if it did what you wanted it to do, and that it was effective, an effective change. So this is, you know, you're creating a change basically, and it's an initiative. I call it an initiative, but you could also call it a change initiative. But the idea is that there's going to be some change. You're going to make it work. So you'll have the summary of that initiative, then you're going to do internal and external influences, and this is where you're going to look at stakeholders, and we're doing that this week in the discussion board. And I want to talk a little bit about stakeholders because you want to be sure that you understand that stakeholders are anyone who has a stake in your organization, and something that you do would impact them. So in many cases, you have boards of directors, you have shareholders, you have management, you have fellow employees. In schools, you would have principals, you would have faculty. In a university, you have the president, the provost, you have parents, you have the students themselves. In an organization, you may have your customers. All of these people could potentially be impacted. Now, if you're in a small department and your department really doesn't have a lot of connections, or your initiative is just to change one department that really wouldn't affect others, then the stakeholders may be more limited. But in the end, if your department does well, who does that affect? If your department was to fail, who would that affect? Again, those are our stakeholders because it affects them if you succeed, it affects them if you don't. And then internal influences can also be culture, and it could be the environment. Maybe you're an organization that is in different buildings. Maybe you're an organization that is international, so you have different offices. The environment can also affect your initiative. External influences, again, typically are outside stakeholders, but it could also be government laws. Those things as well can be external influences. Then the next section is going to be strategies aligned with your organization's mission and vision. And basically, you're going to do research and look at how what you're doing, your initiative, is going to be aligned with the mission and vision of the organization. And how is that going to help the organization to achieve these goals? And perhaps part of it is the new mission or vision, or the things that you developed in weeks 5. Use the new mission and vision, or maybe that's part of your initiative is to get a new mission and vision approved. Mission and vision approved. Then you're going to do the strategic plan, and this is going to be in a table format with specific actions and resources needed and a timeline. And a timeline, I want to see realistically, if you were doing this starting this week, what would your timeline be? Would it be like, for this month, for the month of May, I'm going to do this? Maybe it's a weekly timeline. For the next 6 weeks, we're going to be doing these things. This specific plan, the strategic plan, needs to be detailed, not just a list of, we'll have a meeting with the board, resources needed, none, timeline next week. You know, that's not enough. Why are you having the meeting with the board? What is that? What specifically are you going to do at this meeting? Resources needed, maybe you need to create a PowerPoint. Maybe you need to create printouts to hand out to the board. And the timeline is specifically is, when are you going to get on their schedule, and how long will it take to schedule them out? And so what range of dates do you think you're going to be able to meet with them? And then you'll have your conclusion where you sum everything up. So I think that's it. Good luck with that. I think you're all going to do fine. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going into the discussion boards this week and making comments about the stakeholders for people. My comments tend to, if they get repetitive, I may not comment on everybody's post. So just look at your peers' comments to see if they apply to you. We do have a mid-course evaluation survey that I would like you all to participate in. It is 21 questions, but it really only takes like 2 minutes to go through and answer them. We're trying out a new system for mid-course evaluations to help get the students more involved in making sure that the faculty is doing what we ask them to do. So just check it all out, see if I'm doing the right stuff, and let me know if you have questions. Have a great rest of your week.